Somewhere between March and June of this year, Kroger quietly removed a product from its shelves that had been sitting in American pantries for more than 40 years. No press release, no sign on the shelf, no email to loyalty members. It just stopped appearing. And what they put in its place costs 34% more per ounce, contains 2 ingredients the original never had, and carries a house brand label most shoppers have never even questioned. That's number 9. We haven't even gotten to number 1 yet. Here's what's actually happening in 2026 and why this matters right now. Kroger operates nearly 20,700 stores across 35 states under names you might not even realize belong to them. Ralph's, King Soopers, Fred Meyer, Harris Teeter, Smith's, Fry's, Mariners, Pick and Save. When Kroger delists a product, it doesn't just disappear from one chain. It disappears from the shopping lives of roughly 60 million households in a single quarter. And in the last 18 months, according to internal category reset data referenced in trade publications like Supermarket News and Progressive Grocer, Kroger has accelerated something called SKU rationalization, a corporate term for quietly killing name-brand products and replacing them with private label equivalents that carry margins 22 to 40% higher for the retailer. 9 specific items have been pulled or heavily reduced. Each one was chosen for a reason. And the closer we get to number 1, the harder this gets to ignore, because number 1 isn't just a swap. It's a signal about where the entire American grocery aisle is heading. Number 9. Regional name brand white bread. There's a loaf of bread that used to sit at eye level in the Kroger bread aisle for decades, and this year it dropped to the bottom shelf, then vanished entirely from about 40% of stores. We're talking about brands like Wonder, Sunbeam, and Nature's Own variants in specific SKUs, regional white and honey wheat loaves that average $2.79 to $3.29. According to USDA Economic Research Service bread pricing data, private label bread carries a wholesale to retail margin nearly double that of name brand bread. Kroger's own private selection and Kroger Bakery Fresh lines now occupy the prime shelf real estate those national brands used to hold. The reason isn't taste, it isn't demand, it's shelf economics. Every linear foot of shelf space at eye level is worth about $50,000 per year in gross margin to a grocery retailer, and Kroger's private label bread returns roughly 38% margin versus 19% on national brands. The bread didn't fail you. It failed the spreadsheet. If your family has a bread you rely on, check the bottom shelf first. That's the demotion zone. And if it's gone entirely, look at Aldi, Walmart, or a regional bakery outlet before defaulting to the Kroger house brand. The house brand is fine. It's just not what you thought you were choosing. Hold this one in mind. At number 4, we're going to see the exact same playbook run against a product 10 times more important than bread. Number 8. Mid-tier national cereals. Walk your cereal aisle this week and count the empty facings. In most Kroger stores across the Midwest, there are between 14 and 22 gaps that weren't there last year. Specific SKUs from General Mills, Post, and Kellogg's have been quietly delisted. Not the flagship boxes like Cheerios or Frosted Flakes, but the mid-tier, Cinnamon Toast Crunch multigrain variants, specific Special K flavors, Post's Great Grains line in certain sizes. Trade data from Grocery Dive reported that Kroger cut approximately 15% of cereal SKUs in 2025, a trend that has continued into 2026. Here's what's replacing them. Kroger's own Simple Truth and Kroger brand cereals, often produced in the same manufacturing plants, using nearly identical formulations, but sold at 30 to 45% lower prices with dramatically higher store margins. The consumer wins on price. The name brand employee somewhere loses a job. If a cereal your kids will actually eat has disappeared, don't waste 3 trips confirming it's gone. Check Kroger's private label first. Same manufacturer roughly 60% of the time. Store it in an airtight glass container to extend freshness from 3 weeks to nearly 3 months. The next one involves a price gap that's genuinely hard to justify, and it's sitting in a section most people walk past without looking. Number 7. Name brand canned vegetables. There's a can on your grocery shelf right now that costs 89 cents. Right next to it is a nearly identical can, same vegetables, same weight, same sodium content, for $1.79. Only one of them is still going to be on that shelf next quarter. Del Monte and Green Giant canned vegetables, corn, green beans, peas, mixed vegetables have been systematically reduced in Kroger stores since late 2025. According to shelf audit data compiled by IRI Circana, Kroger's private label canned vegetable share has grown from 41% to 58% of total category volume in just 18 months. That is one of the fastest private label conversions in the entire grocery industry. The reason this matters isn't the price, it's the shelf life. Canned vegetables are one of the highest value prep items in any pantry. Properly stored, they remain safe well past the printed best by date, sometimes for 3 to 5 years according to USDA guidance. And Kroger knows this, which is why the private label push here isn't just about margin. It's about locking in your household's default emergency food supply to their brand. Buy 24 cans right now. Mix vegetables, corn, green beans, and diced tomatoes. Store them in a cool, dry spot below 75 Fahrenheit. That's roughly $22 in insurance against a month of grocery disruption. Picture week 3 of living entirely on what's in your pantry right now. The next item on this list is what stands between eating and just surviving. Number 6. Specific cuts of name-brand frozen meat. Tyson lost roughly 200 SKUs of Kroger shelf space in the last 12 months. Purdue lost around 140, and Kroger's own Home Chef and Simple Truth frozen meat lines expanded by a combined 320 SKUs. This isn't a small shift. According to industry data referenced by Meeting Place and USDA cold storage reports, private label frozen meat penetration at major grocery chains hit a historical high in 2025. Kroger's Home Chef frozen chicken breasts, meatballs, and pre-marinated cuts are now displacing what used to be the domain of the biggest names in American protein. Here's what most shoppers don't know. The frozen meat under the Kroger private label often comes from the exact same processing plants as Tyson and Purdue, because the big 3 protein companies also manufacture private label for retailers. You're often buying identical meat at 25% less, but you're also losing your ability to compare brands because when there's only one option, there's no comparison. Buy frozen chicken breasts in bulk when they hit $2.99 lb or less. Vacuum seal in 1-pound portions. They'll hold quality for up to 9 months in a standard freezer at 0 Fahrenheit. This next one will challenge an assumption you've probably had for years. About which items on your grocery list are actually worth paying more for. Take a breath here. We're at the halfway point. Everything from here forward carries significantly more weight, because the items we've covered so far are convenience losses. What comes next is nutritional loss, medical loss, and in one case, something you literally cannot substitute. And that number 1 item I mentioned in the opening, the one that's been on shelves for over 40 years? Here's one new detail I didn't tell you. It's not food. Not exactly. But you use it almost every single day, and its replacement fails at the one job you actually need it to do. Number 5. Specialty dairy. Full-fat cottage cheese and buttermilk variants. Number 5. Specialty dairy, specifically full-fat cottage cheese and cultured buttermilk in traditional formulations. There's a fermentation process that takes 12 to 16 hours to do correctly. And Kroger just replaced the process made with it with something that takes 90 minutes. Traditional cultured buttermilk from brands like Kate's and Cabot, along with full-fat 4% cottage cheese from Breakstones and Daisy in specific sizes, have been pulled or reduced across Kroger banners since early 2026. In their place, Kroger brand cultured buttermilk that is, in many cases, low-fat milk with added acid rather than true fermented product. Research published through the Journal of Dairy Science has documented meaningful differences in probiotic content, protein bioavailability, and baking performance between traditionally cultured and acid-set dairy products. For most home cooks, this shows up as biscuits that don't rise the same, pancakes that turn out flat, and cottage cheese that weeps water within days of opening. The product looks like the original. It behaves like a substitute. If baking matters in your kitchen, seek out real cultured buttermilk at a local dairy or health food section. Or make your own. 1 tablespoon of white vinegar per cup of whole milk. Sit for 10 minutes. It won't be identical to real buttermilk, but it beats a mislabeled house brand. We've been talking about survival and substitution. This next one is about something different. It's about what happens when a product you've trusted for a specific medical reason just disappears. Number 4. Specific over-the-counter health staples. A woman in Ohio wrote to a local newspaper last spring, saying she drove to 4 separate Kroger stores looking for the same electrolyte product her diabetic mother had used for 11 years. It wasn't out of stock. It had been delisted. Kroger has reduced or removed specific SKUs across categories that skew toward older shoppers. Certain Pedialyte variants, specific fiber supplements, brand-name saline nasal sprays, and traditional glucose monitoring accessories. According to Nielsen category data, private label OTC share at major grocery chains grew from 32% to 44% between 2023 and 2025. The trend accelerated in 2026. Here's the concern, and this comes directly from FDA guidance on OTC products. For many consumers, especially those managing chronic conditions, brand consistency matters. Not because private labels are unsafe, but because product formulation, tablet coating, and inactive ingredients can vary in ways that affect tolerance. When Kroger pulls the specific brand you've trusted, you don't just lose convenience, you lose predictability. If you or a family member depends on a specific OTC product, take a photo of the label, including the NDC number, and store it in your phone. That gives you exact identification when you have to source it from CVS, Walgreens, or online. The next one is about something that happens on almost every dinner table in America, and something Kroger seems to be betting you'll never notice has changed. Number 3. Specific coffee brands and grind sizes. Coffee prices hit historic highs in 2025, and by early 2026, wholesale Arabica was trading at levels not seen in nearly 50 years. Kroger's response was not to hold the line, it was to change what's on the shelf. Folgers and Maxwell House in specific canister sizes, the 30.5-ounce and 24.2-ounce mainstays, have been reduced across many Kroger stores. Pete's ground coffee in specific dark roasts has also been trimmed. Kroger's own private selection whole bean and ground coffee lines have expanded aggressively. According to Bloomberg Commodity reporting on coffee futures through 2025 and into 2026, the entire industry is under margin compression, and private label is how retailers protect themselves. Here's the piece most shoppers don't catch. The coffee inside a Kroger private label can is often sourced from the same origin countries, Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia as the name brands. But the roast profile, the grind consistency, and the freshness date range can differ meaningfully. A ground coffee that was roasted 90 days ago tastes different from one roasted 30 days ago, regardless of what the can says. Buy whole bean when you can. Grind at home. Store in an opaque, airtight container away from heat and light. A $30 burr grinder pays for itself in 6 weeks of better coffee and completely eliminates the private label freshness gamble. This one and number 1 together form the most overlooked combination on this entire list, because they're both being replaced with something that looks like the original, tastes like the original, but performs like a compromise. One thing before we reach the top 2, something most channels covering this topic will never say directly. Every product on this list is being pulled for the same underlying reason. Shelf economics have replaced shopper loyalty as the primary force shaping the American grocery aisle. For 100 years, brands earned their place on shelves by earning trust with consumers. In 2026, they earn their place, or lose it, based on wholesale margin, category profitability, and private label displacement potential, which means the question you should be asking every time you shop isn't what's on sale, it's what's still here and what got quietly replaced while I wasn't looking. That reframes everything you've heard so far. Number 2. Specific cooking oils and fats. Number 2. Specific cooking oils and fats. The oil you cooked with last night may not be the same oil you'll be able to buy next month. Wesson vegetable oil in traditional sizes, Crisco in specific formulations, and several name-brand olive oils have been reduced or pulled from Kroger banners across 2025 and 2026. Meanwhile, Kroger's own Simple Truth and private selection oils have expanded, including olive oils, avocado oils, and blended cooking oils. Global olive oil pricing hit record highs in 2024 and 2025, according to the International Olive Council, driven by drought in Spain and southern Italy, and those price pressures have flowed through directly to what appears on U.S. shelves. Here's what to know. Olive oil fraud is one of the most documented food adulteration problems in the world, and research from UC Davis's Olive Center has repeatedly found that a significant share of extra virgin olive oils on U.S. shelves fail to meet the standard. That risk doesn't go away with private label. In some cases, it intensifies because the supply chain is less transparent. For cooking, buy avocado oil or refined olive oil in dark glass bottles from suppliers that publish harvest dates. Store below 70 Fahrenheit, away from light. For deep pantry storage, coconut oil in sealed jars can hold quality for 2 to 3 years. Now, the one I've been building toward. Number 1. Traditional aluminum foil and standard household Rolls-Reynolds wrap in specific sizes. The 75 square foot standard roll and the 200 square foot heavy-duty roll has been reduced across many Kroger banners in 2026. In its place, Kroger brand aluminum foil that is measurably thinner. According to independent product testing referenced in outlets like Consumer Reports over the last several years, private label foils frequently measure between 0.6 and 0.7 mil thickness compared to the 0.9 to 1 mil standard for name-brand heavy-duty foil. Aluminum has been trading at elevated levels on the London Metal Exchange since 2024, driven by energy costs and supply constraints from Russia and China. Wholesale aluminum foil pricing has climbed roughly 30% over 3 years. Kroger's response: reduce shelf presence of Reynolds and Alkin, expand Kroger brand foil at 34% higher cost per usable ounce when you account for the reduced thickness and the fact that thin foil tears more, wastes more, and covers less effectively. Here's the loop close from the opening. This is the product that had been on American shelves for over 40 years. This is the one that costs 34% more per ounce than the original. And this is the one you use almost every day without thinking about it. Wrapping leftovers, lining baking sheets, sealing casseroles, storing meat for the freezer. When it tears at the wrong moment or fails to seal at 350 Fahrenheit, you don't blame the foil, you blame yourself. The reason foil is number 1 on this list isn't because it's the most expensive or the most emotional. It's because it's the clearest example of the entire pattern. A trusted product, a quiet delisting, a house brand replacement, a higher effective price, and a consumer who never got told any of it happened. Buy Reynolds Wrap or Alkin heavy-duty foil at Costco, Sam's Club, or Amazon. Subscribe and save. A 500 square foot roll of heavy-duty foil at warehouse pricing runs roughly 40% less per square foot than the Kroger House brand, and it will last a household 2 to 3 years stored in a cool, dry drawer. Here's the principle underneath all 9 of these swaps. Your grocery store is not neutral shelf space. It's a curated financial product, engineered week by week, and the version of it you shopped in 2019 no longer exists in 2026. 9 items today, probably 15 by next spring. The combined value of understanding this list isn't about hoarding, it's about pattern recognition. Once you can see the swap, you can price the swap. Once you can price the swap, you can decide, deliberately, where you'll accept the private label, and where you'll go somewhere else to protect what your family actually depends on. Start with foil. Add coffee. Then rebuild your canned vegetable stockpile from a source that isn't quietly changing on you every quarter. Build the kind of pantry and the kind of awareness that means your family has options, no matter what disappears next. Because here's the question worth carrying with you into your next grocery trip. If 9 items got pulled this quietly, how many more are already gone from your cart and you just haven't noticed yet?
Purpose, all the content used in this video is real and authentic and can be changed anytime. The tools and other things that's being used in this video are totally safe and according to the manufacturer policy. Thank you so much.